It's wonderful to meet you face to face as best we can, obviously on this call, which is wonderful. We've had some really great conversations, but all of this started to get us on this call because you called us and you left us a voicemail and you wanted to share your story. And your voicemail really touched us, as I told you before, and we just really enjoyed hearing your story and kind of the authentic reaction of just being so relieved that you found something that was the perfect fit for your dog.
Hi there. I just wanted to leave a compliment. I'll find a way to put a post up or something somewhere. I just wanted to let you know I bought your hip and mobility, and my 12-year-old dog, I tried that red light laser. It helped a little bit. She kept going backwards. I tried the most popular, I think that's being marketed right now was called Wolf. That might have helped a little tiny bit. I mean, she was stumbling. She was knuckling over, everything. And within 10 days of using your product, it's changed her completely. And I'm so grateful. I'm sorry I'm crying, but your product is definitely amazing, and it definitely sets itself apart from everything that's out there. And I'm very grateful to have my dog back, and 2 puppies here too. I'm going to start them on the immunity very soon, but I will definitely find a way to post something very detailed to let people know that there is definitely something out there that can be life-changing for your dog. Just wanted to let you know. Thank you.
We'll get into the product and your experience and everything like that, but first I would just love to hear about Piper. What's kind of the background story of how she kind of came into your life and, all that sort of a thing too. We'd love to just start there.
Sure. Piper, she'll be 12 years old next month, and I acquired her, I think, at about 1.5 years through a rescue, and she was a hoarding situation. So she spent the first 1.5 years of her life in a crate and never was allowed out. So, I obtained her, drove 4 hours to go get her, and brought her home and said, you will never be put in that kind of situation again. And she's just been my best buddy, and we used to, even up till 11 and a half, going on these long walks with us, half mile, 3/4 of a mile, and uphill, downhill, and doing her thing like she was I don't say a puppy, but no issues. And then it was just very shocking, how quickly this turned. I guess I would say I'm a helicopter mom a little bit there. I mean, I do have a background with showing dogs and grooming, back in the day. And I used to work for a pet food distributor and a pet food company. That was the advent before the superstores came out. So, I mean, you're talking about, I know I look like I'm 21, but I'm 60.
Wow,
and
God.
I'll say that jokingly.
No,
but
absolutely. It's wonderful.
But in the 90s, when, at least here on the East Coast, Pet Food Giant came out, in the superstores, and it really was the beginning of the end for, the mom and pop stores. I mean, you don't see them anymore. It's all franchises now and the big stuff. So I was, part of that back in the day. Totally different lifestyle now, but on 12 acres with the chickens and the dog, and now we got 2 pups now. So I consider myself to be an over-experienced pet owner. So that's where what I was saying to you about, we have been conditioned, that, glucosamine and chondroitin and MSM is the way to go. And I understand that there is a place for that, but when you have a dog, and I know it's about, rebuilding the joints, so on and so forth, but again, yours is about inflammation. And if you have a dog that can't even lift her tail anymore, I mean, that has nothing to do with this glucosamine. And there's definitely, inflammation going on there in a bigger picture. It's just really getting the word out and helping people understand that doesn't take away from what those supplements do. And there's still a need for it. But I mean, an animal is still having, inflammation all over the place. Okay. Glucosamine and chondroitin and MSM, that's only going to do, so much. So that's where I just didn't give up, and just like, okay, I know I'm kind of repeating myself. My background came in that fashion to say, there's more to this. Yeah. That's, that's kind of it. So now I got 2 4-month-old toy fox terriers here, and one's 3.5 pounds and the other one's 5. I'm definitely sold on the WINPRO and understanding, about the inflammation, and just even, for the daily, supplement, just to help people understand you don't have to wait till you get to that point, that you can do some preventative here as well. Because, inflammation is cancer. Inflammation is so many other things. Inflammation causes so many other aspects in an animal. So if there's any way that we can cut that off at the pass a little bit, why not?
Absolutely. And I think that prevention piece is key, because a lot of times you kind of wait until all of a sudden you notice something's different, and then it kind of wakes you up to go, okay, something is not right with my dog, versus when everything's great, then you think, okay, everything's great, we're doing well. And so with Piper specifically, what were those things that you were noticing when all of a sudden you went, oh wow, we have an issue here that kind of popped up all of a sudden? What were those things that you were experiencing?
I think more the textbook ones, with the steps, going up and down the steps. And it's like, okay, well, the steps don't have any grips on them, so let me go spend a couple $100 on grips for the steps. She went downhill like in a couple of weeks to the point where she went, wow. And I was like, okay. So, it's really, the steps, the walking, then the stumbling, couldn't keep balance. And each thing, when I tried, okay, let's try this laser therapy. So, spent the money on that. I still use it. I think, those things still have their benefit, but it still wasn't enough to bring her back, to who she was. And then it seemed like it helped like a tiny bit, but then it got worse. And like I said, then she just kept going down and down and down. And then the one day I just didn't even notice. I'm like, wow, Piper, I said, you can't even hold your tail up. Not even to the point, like it just hung there, nothing. And I thought, that's just strange,
She's real uncomfortable, or she doesn't have energy and she's not happy, or she's in pain maybe, and whatever it is, but you're like, something is not normal because she's not doing what she normally does.
That was scary, just, how quickly, she went downhill because, again, prior to that, every day we were out on the property, walking and doing our little hike and things like that. And then we just went to nothing. It was very disturbing, I was like, wow, what's happening here? So I didn't hesitate to try to do what I could to, make her feel, comfortable. And then what can I do to fix this? The steps was the first thing. And then, like I said, then the walking and then no balance. And she went from 0 to like almost no walking, like within like 3 weeks. It was just really strange.
Wow. Okay. So you saw all of that, you knew that something was wrong. And so maybe with your background, you kind of already knew, okay, there's a couple things that I want to try right off the bat. But, one of those things you said was the red light therapy that you started with. And so you went to that, and you said your experience was kind of like, well, this is probably helping in some way, but I'm not necessarily sure that it's doing enough for what I'm looking for. So I'm looking for something else. And then, what did you try after that? Or
right, after I tried the red light therapy, and again, I know sometimes people are very quick to, oh, this didn't work after a day or a week or something like that. Okay. I always like to give things the benefit of the doubt. And again, even things that you see, hey, give it 30 days, so on and so forth. But I did it every night for a half an hour with her. Come on, therapy. And she was very good about it. It seemed like it helped a tiny bit, but then all of a sudden, she went down further. And I said, okay, then this isn't working. It's not even keeping her at a level, So then the next step was, okay, well, let's look at what we're shown all the time, the glucosamine and chondroitin supplements. Yep. So, did a little research there and, looked and found a supplement that apparently, had a lot of great reviews on it and a lot of great turnarounds, and spent the money on that and put her on that. And again, same thing. Seems like it helped a little tiny bit. Then I tried another supplement that had to do with nerve endings, myelin sheath protection, like the nerve endings. I thought, okay, does she have neuropathy? What's happening here? Could she feel her feet? What's happening? Seemed like it helped like a tiny bit for like just a couple days, and then boom, down lower. And I still feel like they could still have their benefits in some fashion, but it was not enough to bring her back to any sense of where she was, even in the smallest sense. It just wasn't. And John was like, I think it's going to be time soon. And I'm like, no, it's not. No, it's not. And no, it's not. Yeah. Nope. We're going to keep working on this. We're going to keep trying. And I was just, looking online, and then, WINPRO popped up, and I just looked at it, and I was like, that's really interesting. Inflammation. And we just kind of looked at that thing about like Piper's tail too. Okay, well, I realized there's interconnected joints, with the tail, at the tailbone and things like that. But I was just like, there has to be more to it. If the glucosamine and chondroitin is not helping her, okay, that's not it. So, and if she's that stiff, okay, is it arthritis? Is it a tick-borne situation? I had her tested for that. No. Because, arthritis is actually inflammation in the body. Mm-hmm. So I thought, well, and I wasn't diagnosing her or pretending to be a vet or anything like that. But I thought, okay, there just felt like there was something to it. So started giving it to her, and she took it readily. She was happy to eat it. She's not fussy, but she can be. She ate it, and, and then just like on the 8th day, she, got up, and, she wasn't, wobbling around, and I was just like, oh, is that easy? And then, like a couple of days later, then she wagged her tail, and I was like, she just lifted her tail up, and I was like, okay, there, I said, there she is. I said, there she is. And even my husband said, wow, he was amazed too. And I said, you don't have to give up. You don't have to try one or two or three things, and think it's the end. It's just finding the right fit, because they can't talk to us, they can't tell us exactly what they feel or how they feel or what's going on. So, they're relying on us, to do the best that we can for them. So, each day I see a little bit of improvement. Again, she's not running, like she was, but she's up, she's mobile. She's like, don't pick me up. I don't want to be carried anymore. She doesn't fall over when the puppies jump at her and things like that. She wags her tail, her spirit's back. She's after more food, again. So she wants to be part of the family versus, just staying on the couch and being immobile and invalid, being carried around. She's like, hey mom, I'm back in the game. Yeah. So I do believe, that, WINPRO, not believe, I know, WINPRO has definitely, added years to her life. And even if, I had not found it, I wasn't going to give up on her. I would just carry her around until it was time for her to go. But her quality of life, has improved significantly. She's still always content, even though she couldn't move. But you can just see it in her, what she wants to do and be around us anymore and interact with the puppies. And she's just like, I'm back, Mom. I'm back. Yeah.
That's amazing. You I was really close to starting to cry right there when you were just talking about she started wagging her tail after those 8, 9, 10 days, whatever it was, when you started seeing things and when she wagged her tail again. I was like, oh man, it really got to me, just because such a small thing can be such a massive sign that my dog is back, or coming back and comfortable and happy, because we wish that dogs lived forever, and we want to do everything we possibly can to keep them here with us as long as we possibly can. And just little signs like that show us that they're feeling good, that they're happy, that they're living their life in the way that you want them to, that means everything, and so that's just it was such a small sign. But you talking about that, I just was like, man, as somebody who's had many dogs in my life and love pets, I know how powerful that can be, that little moment for you to be like, okay, we're on to something, this is something that might be showing some promise. And the fact that came so quick too is amazing, because sometimes it does take 3, 4, or 5 weeks or something like that. But the fact that you could start seeing a little bit of a transformation that early, I'm so glad that happens, because it gave you hope.
Appreciate your point there, and I hope that pet parents understand that, okay, Piper was lucky, at 8 days, but like you said, it can take, 30 days. I guess I would have to say, how I also would attribute that to is, and if a pet parent's listening to this as well, is that, keep in mind the dosing on that. Piper weighs 9 pounds. Mm-hmm. Shouldn't weigh 9 pounds. She should weigh probably a little less than that, but she weighs 9 pounds. But the point being is, how that's dosed, I think one of the WINPROs are 1 per 20 pounds. Okay. Yep. So now if you have a dog that's 20 pounds, okay, and you're giving them one a day, okay, essentially then, Piper's getting a little bit more extra goodness each WINPRO that she gets a day, simply because of her weight. Yeah. So understanding that as a pet parent, that Piper may have seen potentially results earlier because of the dosing, because of her weight. Yeah. But the closer you get to that dosing of being, per 20 pounds, maybe it might take, 2 weeks, maybe it might take a month. So again, just helping understand that, okay, well, I didn't get the results that Piper did, in 8 days. So now I'm disappointed. I'm going to give up, Don't give up.
Mm-hmm. That's a super important message, because I also know just how desperate you were, to give her some relief, and how desperate every pet parent is when they're in a situation where searching for some kind of solution. They just want change immediately. And I completely understand that, because you're just hoping for something fast. But yeah, there really is something to giving it a few weeks, because it is a supplement. It's not a medication. It's not going to work the same way that a medication is meant to. They're designed for different purposes and in different ways. And so it's you got to give it a little bit of time to get into their system and support them in the way that they're designed to. And the benefit is, if your dog loves it, just like Piper, you can give it every day, and you can say, okay, they love taking it. We're just going to wait and see, and give it those few weeks, to give it a chance to work, for sure.
No, I agree. And also keeping in mind, what the veterinarians, and I'm not anti-medication, I'm not anti anything like that, but understanding that, these medications that are out there, that I'm not naming, and medications, but, that the veterinarians have as a tool to help for the pet, they are not made to be long-term, because then at that point, the pet is experiencing other issues, from the side effects from the medication. Now, granted, at the end of the day, tried everything first and the pet still can't get any relief. Obviously there's still a place for that. But in my opinion, try a supplement like WINPRO first.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, if you can get relief for your pet without having to go to a prescription medication, there are no side effects. So that's where that would have been my, absolute last resort. If I could not get her any relief, that I would, go to that. But again, I realized that, even the veterinarians go right to the meds. But I did see that WINPRO, also has a veterinary line, that you're looking to, expand that out to. And I do wish and hope that these veterinarians will look at these additional supplements instead of going, right to, the traditional prescription medications. Because, most veterinarians, in my experience, are not trained on, these nutritions and these supplements. There's been so many things that I have knocked down, in Piper as she's gotten her annual blood work, just simply by, using supplements. And we'd ask a vet, okay, what can I do with this? And they say, well, I've seen numbers higher than that. That's not an answer. I want my pet to be as happy and healthy as possible. So do a little research. Again, I urge that to any pet parent, anything that comes up. Do a little research. Just because someone wants to hand you a pill for your dog, there are options out there like WINPRO.
Yeah, for sure. And we're trying to get our name out there because we're so different than all of the other, supplements that people typically see on the market. And I know every company says that, they're like, oh, we're different, we're unique. But the plasma in our products is really so incredibly unique. It's been used in the agricultural industry forever. Veterinarians and pet parents are used to plasma. When you think about a plasma transfusion at the hospital, right, for humans or even for a dog, they might get injectable plasma, PRP or something, and they've heard of that. But the fact of that it's available for a dog to orally consume is what's really new and unique, kind of in the science and in the industry. And so we're just trying to help spread the word to other pet parents and veterinarians. We're having a lot of great conversations with vet clinics too that are really interested in bringing this in. And it's because not just of us talking about our products, but it's because of pet parents like you. It's people like you that had an experience with it that go into their vet and say, I can talk about this from my own experience and I really think that you should give it a look, and then we get vet clinics reaching out and saying, hey, a client of ours, said that they got really great results with this. Can you tell us a little bit more about it? And so that word of mouth is so much more powerful than we think it can be,
Well, it's nice that the vets have, are having an open mind, about that, that side of things, I do feel sometimes that pet parents, they hear the word plasma and it brings up different connotations of things. Sure. But again, understanding what it's used for. I mean, it's also used, in humans, injectable, at the joint areas, they're using that, obviously there's nothing at this point orally for humans, for inflammation, but it's also being used, for joint pain, through an injection, on humans and helping them understand that it's not
as scary.
It's not scary. It's not snake oil, it's also being used, in many different fashions, including for human use. And I would probably predict at some point in time, that there'll be something that'll be created orally, for human beings. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah, they're just starting with that. There is a supplement that's out there that's, I think, called Mega IgG 2000. The plasma that's fractionated down, a couple more levels down to like pure IgG. And they do have that in a supplement form for humans, which is pretty incredible. So they're starting to get into that space just a little bit, but it's kind of cutting edge stuff, But yeah, it's pretty amazing. And, the little soft chews and stuff that we put it in for dogs, we make sure that we've got minimal ingredients in them, but ones that, dogs are going to love and like taking every day, where it's hopefully not. They treat it like a treat, rather than thinking that they're getting something that's focused on their health.
Yeah, Piper thinks we're good, and I have to keep it away from the puppies too, because it's not for them yet until I get the daily, for them. But again, I know I'm repeating myself, but what's been on the market for so many years, and even the veterinarians still even suggesting that, just again, the glucosamine and chondroitin, we have to open that conversation to a little bit wider ideology that there are other things out there that can do even more for a pet than
if you try
just
glucosamine and it doesn't work, then what? then you kind of think, oh, there's nothing left, but there are other things too, for sure. Because like you've tried multiple things until you kind of found that WINPRO was the right fit for your dog, and WINPRO won't be the right fit for every dog. But I think just making sure people are reassured that it's an option that's out there that's different, worth a shot, worth trying, and we've got our 100% money back guarantee. So if it doesn't work, we'll refund you, because we also know how expensive it is when you're trying so many things for your dog. It can get exhausting. You go, I don't have any money left, to try the next thing when something else didn't work. Like that can be a lot too.
No, I agree. Just hoping that, someone will give it adequate time. But again, just having that peace of mind, that it's that simple. Hey, it didn't work, and being able to get a refund. So, again, ultimately, what do you have to lose, in that regard?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Is there anything else that you want to tell me about kind of Piper's story or transformation, or, does that kind of cover a lot of the things that you wanted to make sure you talked about?
I think that pretty much covers it. Like I said, I got her back, and there's
it's okay.
It's just wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're grateful. We're grateful that you gave WINPRO a chance, and we're grateful that we have something that made such a big difference for her,
I don't think that, I don't know what else would be out there other than for her to go on a prescription medication that long term wasn't going to be beneficial for her. So that was this was like the end. If it wasn't for WINPRO, then she'd be on a prescription medication at that point. I mean, that was my choice, where I wasn't gonna let her suffer either. But that's kind of a tough choice, to have a dog either in pain, which is not fair, or to put them on a prescription medication, which months or years down the road, also has additional side effects that can be very significant and life-ending themselves. So
you have to feel good as the pet parent too. You have to go with your gut and be happy and be at peace, like you said, with what you're choosing to give your dog too. So
and we're definitely at peace now, and she's at peace, and she's she's very happy, she's content. And she was good before, she was resigned, to her life, of not having any mobility, just that little tail wag, like, hey mom, I'm back, just in so many little ways you can pick up, a pet parent can pick up just those little nuances, to their pet is who they were before all this started.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I'm so grateful for your willingness to share your story, to share Piper's story, to, hop on this call with me, give your time, and everything like that too, just to talk about it, because this is why I love doing what I do. I mean, this is it, right? Like I can spend all day writing emails and coming up with, marketing campaigns and whatever we're doing, but like, this is it. This is why I work here and why I do what I do.
No, well, that's fantastic. Like I said, I mean, loving what you do.
Yeah.
But like you said to me, and I know that recording part, this isn't part of the thing, but you said to me, and I'm like, well, if you would do this, I'll send you some free jars of stuff. Well, why would I need free jars of anything when you gave me my dog back? Why would I need free anything?
Yeah.
You've already given me. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
The biggest gift. So I said, I don't need anything. I don't want anything.
I know. I know.
You've given me.
And that's so sweet. That's so sweet. I am still going to send you something, though, just because I'm so grateful, and I can, but I know that you don't want it. I know that you don't expect it, but we love people like you, and we're so, like, you support us, you know what I mean, by giving us a chance and trying our products and by sharing your story and everything. And we want to support you because, you're an example of like you said, you said a helicopter pet parent, but I'm going to say a passionate pet parent, one that goes above and beyond for your dog, because you are like, I am responsible for this beautiful little thing right here, and I need to make sure that Piper has the absolute best life that I can possibly give her, and you've done everything that you possibly can for her, and we need more pet parents like that.
Let's see, I'm gonna grab somebody here. Let's see who's here. Wait, stay right there.
I always love meeting the dogs.
Oh, all right, I got one. I'll show you. All right, he's gonna run for his life. All right, come on. She's like, why? I was just laying down here.
She's like, Mom, come on.
This is Lexi.
Lexi, hi. Oh my gosh, she's so cute.
say I'm 3 pounds.
I have never had dogs that small.
This is my smallest one I ever had here. And so she's 5 months old. And then I'm not going to bother him. He's chewing. And then, oh wait, Pipey wants to come up too. Come here, Pipey.
Lexi is so cute.
And then here's my old lady.
Yeah.
Right? She's a good girl. Oh, yes, okay. Thank
Star
you.
of the show. Look at her.
She's so happy. Like I said, she's up wandering around. Like I'm not used to her wandering around anymore. And
Yeah.
but anyway, but if you ever want to do a commercial on Daily Chews or whatever, count us in. Again, it has nothing to, just to let people know, hey, you don't have to wait until you get to this point. Inflammation and helping them understand these, diseases that are out there, are all based upon inflammation in the body. So even exercise, heavy exercise for your pet produces inflammation in the body and help, for dog athletes and things like that. So, those dog athletes and things like that, helping them understand, muscle recovery and things like that, because again, you're promoting inflammation in the body from the exercise that you think is fun. Hey, I'm loving my dog. We're going to go play Frisbee. We're going to go do sports. We're going to do, like we're taking Sparky barn hunt training, just physical activity. Hey, here's something to, curb that, inflammation in the body so it does not turn into something else later on. I mean, obviously you can't promote that part of, but we can guarantee that it's not going to cause something. But again, any type of preventative thing, a lot of parents are all about that too.
Yeah, just help kind of keep things in check, help keep things at a healthy level and everything like that too. You want to maintain as long as possible. We've got a healthy pet and I want to help them stay that way, as long as I possibly
Oh, absolutely. And I feel like, after being, using their supplement, that it's so inflammation based, well, what was it? Was it a neuropathy? Was it a arthritis? I mean, was it? So now knowing that, obviously this has been manifesting itself, for some period of time that was unbeknownst to me. And then someone that watches her all the time and things like that, just noticing the littlest tiny thing, like it's off. Okay, well, what do I got to do to fix this? I mean, if you knew the cabinet of things that she takes, you wouldn't believe that it's like a science project for the different things that I give her on a daily basis. But, that's why I'm like sold on the daily, supplement to just, ward that stuff off for sure.
Yeah, these ones here, right? The Daily Care Chews.
That's the one, and you're selling products from cradle to grave, essentially, with your daily products, to help prevent that inflammation. Or if we get to a point where we didn't have that previously and now we're like where Piper was, okay, well, hey, here's the hip and joint supplement. So, you have an array of products, that can really, in my opinion, alleviate a lot of, situations, even from a preventative standpoint with that daily supplement too, to, head things off at the pass. So there's so much room with what WINPRO does to just really be a leader, in the market. It's just getting people to understand, what it is, what it does. Don't be put back by the P word, plasma. It's plasma. Okay, well, what about chondroitin and glucosamine? Okay, well, guess what? Science, has advancements, and here you go. And that's why we're all here to let you know that here's something else to try. If these other things aren't working. Hey, if the other stuff works, hey, great.
Sure.
But if not, food for thought.
And don't be afraid of the P word. That's big. Don't be afraid of the P word. Just try it. The plasma sounds scary, but it's a big deal.
It's getting past that point and helping people understand that. And I think if they can, if you can get that into their minds to help them understand, that it's also used in humans as well.
Yeah.
The dogs aren't being guinea pigs on this by any stretch of the imagination. That's going to be, half the battle there.
Yeah.
But again, I think, even, when glucosamine and chondroitin, came out as a supplement, I'm sure it had its hurdles, to go through too. But again, it's still getting these veterinarians to, open their mind to that, because that's kind of like the first go-to. Sure. It's getting them to expand their thought processes on that.
Absolutely. And we're making some good strides this year. We're really grateful. We've had a lot of really great conversations with veterinarians, and videos like these help us a lot too. So
very cool. Very cool.
Thank you so much, Nancy. Is there anything else, or does that kind of cover it?
That is it, my dear. I know I could get kind of chatty there, but I hope that there was some information here in our conversation that
I'll share the videos with you and everything, so that way you can kind of see once we get to the ends. But yeah, and the videos of Piper will help so much. So thank you so much for sending those. And anytime, over the coming weeks, if you capture a cute video or a cute picture of her you want to send me, feel free to do that. We love staying in contact with our customers, and yeah, I'm just so grateful. So thank you so much for your time, Nancy. I really appreciate it.
An honor and a privilege, Miss Anna.